Welcome to the Rad Conversations podcast.
Welcome back to another episode of Rad Conversations. This week we have author Stephanie Peters with us, and she wrote the book A Past Life Bleed Through. We talk about her book, and we also talk about the journey she's been on with her psychic awakening. And we also talk about some of the messages she's gotten from the other side. All that and more coming up on this episode of Rad Conversations. And remember, if you enjoy the show, please like, subscribe, and share. All right, let's dive into it. Welcome to the show, Stephanie.
Hey, thanks.
Could you give our audience a little background about yourself?
I'm married. I've been married for approximately 30 years. We're coming up close to 30 years. We have 4 children between us. I've always had kind of I called it the knowing. I've always had kind of a sense where I know things, I sense things, I feel things. You've got to realize I grew up in the era of no technology. So when this stuff was happening to me as a kid, I mean, I don't know. You didn't know. If you didn't read about it in a book, grab an encyclopedia, or converse with someone who was like that, you just didn't know. And so when I went through the process of what I went through, meeting somebody from a past life, I had kind of a knowing about me, but I didn't have all the terminology and all the information that came to me with this process. So yeah, it's been something.
And what's the name of the book that you have coming out?
So the book that I have coming out is called A Past Life Bleed Through, and it's a collection of poems chronicling my journey. Because one of the things that happened to me through this process is I was given the ability to write poetry. It was not a skill I had before. Words literally just came to me like verbal vomit. And when they first started coming to me, I kind of ignored them. But with my knowing, as I call it, when you ignore it, it screams at you. It's like a hammer banging on your head, and it does not stop. And so I eventually had to start writing. And once I started writing, sometimes it could be 10 to 15 poems a day. And so as I went through my process that I didn't even know was a process, now I know. The collection of poems kind of chronicled my journey from what the heck to, maybe beginning to see the light and healing.
Wow. So you said you had experiences when you were younger. Can you give us some of those experiences that you had growing up?
So when I was younger, I would just know things that I shouldn't know. Like one of the examples is I knew my dog, I was taking a shower and I knew my dog had died. And I was in the shower crying, and I didn't know my dog had died, but I knew my dog had died. And when my mom started knocking on the door, I was young and I refused to answer because in my immature mind, if I didn't answer, it didn't happen. And so things like that just happened my whole life. Like there was always just this sense of like, yeah, I know that, but nobody really talked about that stuff. So it was just something that was normal for me, but still abnormal. I just kind of kept it to myself.
So you didn't think... So, I mean, when you were growing up, you told everybody like, yeah, Mom, I know the dog passed away. Or did you kind of keep you knew that was special. Your ability was different from your other family members at the time?
Yeah, I mean, I did. Yeah, the only time. So the dog was actually the first incident where I actually said something. Because when my mom was knocking on the door, I wouldn't open it. When I finally opened it, I was already standing there crying. And my mom was like, "Why are you crying?" And I was like, because, Valentine, that was a dog's name, Valentine's dead. And she's like, I haven't told you anything, So that was really the first time that I ever acknowledged it. Both of the times that I got pregnant with both of my children, I knew. Like, I knew in the middle of the act. I knew. Like, wow. I knew. I knew. I mean, the act was finished and I was like, yep, I'm pregnant. Like,
Wow.
I knew when my daughters were pregnant. Like, there's just so many things, I can't even recap them all, that I just knew. It wasn't until I got in my 20s and that I married my husband. Now, I've been married twice. My first one was short-lived. But the husband that I'm married to now, he was the first person that I really just started telling everything to. Like, I would just say, yeah, this, or yeah, that, or, this is going to happen, or I saw this. And so it wasn't until I was grown. That kind of plays into my story as well, though, because I had spent a lot of time ignoring it. And I had spent a lot of time disregarding it or not paying attention or whatever. And so there was one incident when I was in my mid-20s where I looked at a fence plank. I was going to work, and I looked at a fence plank going to in my driveway, going to my car. And when I saw this fence plank in my head, the fence plank opened, the dog came out, and the dog died. I never went over there. I never checked the fence plank. I never nothing. And I was just like, that's silly. There's nothing wrong with the fence plank. You got to go to work. You're in a hurry. Just go. Just go. Well, that day the fence plank came loose. My dog got out and my dog died.
Wow. The
That
exact
day.
same fence post you were looking
Mhm,
at, or plank
mhm.
you were looking at,
Yeah.
the exact location.
That one that my attention was drawn to, that my, like it called me, basically. I don't know how else to say it. That was the day that I made a commitment to myself. And this plays into my story now. The commitment that I made to myself privately is I knew that stuff had been happening my whole life. And so now that I was coming into an adult and I was coming into my own, I made a promise to myself that day. And I said, no matter what it says, no matter what it says, no matter what it calls to you, I don't care if it's as simple as step over that sidewalk. You're going to do that. You're going to listen to that. No matter how stupid it seems, I made a promise to me, you will listen, period. Period. That's it. And so just like people have like faith or religion or stuff that they're just diehard dedicated to, in that moment when that dog died, because I feel like for me, I didn't check the fence plank when I was shown. So I made a commitment to me never to ignore it, ever.
And roughly how long ago was that?
25 years ago.
20.
Longer.
I got to go back to being pregnant. Did you know, like, you were going to have a boy or girl, any of that, or you just knew you were pregnant?
No, I just knew I was pregnant. Like, I just knew. I didn't really, no, I just knew I was pregnant. There's a feeling that my body gets. There's these it's almost like electricity. It's almost like I'm overly aware of my cells and what my body, like, I am entirely too aware of my body. Like, it's kind of like you stuck your finger in a light socket, but it doesn't hurt. It's a jolt. And I just can't even begin. It's like you can feel your cells bouncing off of one another. And so.
Did the feeling intensify after you gave into it and say, okay, I'm going to follow this from now on?
So, yeah. So after I decided to listen and after I decided to give into it, it did become stronger, or I recognized it more in earlier phases and in earlier stages. And I never viewed myself as psychic or anything like that, because to me, those people controlled it. It's given. I don't control it. I'm getting better at it now, but in the beginning, it was like it either happened or it didn't. I just lived my life, and I either got the feeling or didn't get the feeling, or got a message or didn't get a message. And I just kind of left it at that for a very long time until this last incident.
So with these notifications that you would get, would you request them at all? Like, hey, my kid's going to school. Should I be worried about a class field trip or anything like that? It would just be natural, come to you. It would be unprompted.
Yeah, I didn't start requesting or asking until here recently with this last scenario that began 4 years ago. And then I've gone through a lot of therapy. I've gotten therapy from shamans, and I've learned to, they call it a gift. I hate that word, but I've learned to get better at that. But in the beginning, those first, most of my life, I just lived, and it either happened or it didn't. I didn't.
Now, how often would these happen to you? Once a day, a couple times a day, once a week?
They could come in spells. I could come in spells where it was really busy and it happened a lot and it was overwhelming and stressful and it felt like hammers in my head, or it could kind of lull and kind of, I don't want to say disappear, but I could go a couple of years and either nothing happened or it was minor, or it was like, I don't want to say minor, but it was just weak maybe, and I didn't tap into it. But then, yeah, there are other times where it could come pretty consistently, pretty rapidly, one right after the other. So I never knew, and that's, I never knew. That's why I was like, to me, in my mind, it happened to me or it didn't.
I get, and I don't think I've ever shared this with anybody, so I'm sharing with you, Stephanie, and everybody watching. If I'm doing something maybe I shouldn't be doing, my finger will twitch. And I noticed this maybe about 15 years ago, maybe a little longer, and then, I would change but sometimes I'm there, I don't know, 10 years of it, I was like, no, whatever, I'm not. And then I was like, I need that twitch back. Like, I kind of miss my self-governing system, so.
That's like that's like your inner self. That's like your higher self, like speaking to you, telling you, hey, buddy.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's your like inner higher self kind of communicating with you. So I've kind of learned I've learned a lot of the little signs now that I didn't know before. I've learned them through this process. So
And what kind of signs do you get?
so I can get weird feelings. I can get eye twitches. I get words in my head. I get conversations in my head. I get like sometimes I can see things before they happen or hear, like for instance, for this podcast here, I've been having visions of being on a podcast talking to a man. And so when I've had these visions, I've just kind of said, well, it's up to divine timing. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. The opportunity is going to present itself. And when it does, I'm prepared to jump on it. Like I just kind of, so like I've already had visions of being on a podcast speaking to a man. Like I had those visions. So
Well, I'm glad we got the audio fixed so we can talk to each other. So a little behind the scenes there.
yeah.
But yes, that's fantastic. So do you get, like you said, you get voices in your head and your eye twitches, and does a certain
In my ear, buzzing in my ear.
okay, so like if something happens in your ear, is that only pertaining to a certain subject, or are the voices in your head only towards one subject, or is it just random how the messages come to you?
Yeah, it's kind of like one time I was talking to one lady and I got a buzzing in my ear. She was talking about her mother who had passed. And I got a buzzing in my ear and I just kept hearing yellow, yellow, ask about the color yellow, ask about the color yellow. And so then I did. Come to find out, yellow was very, very important to her mom, and then she explained her story. Other times it can happen, I can be driving down the road and it can be turn right, turn right, turn right. And it's like, I don't know why. And sometimes I get the proof. Like sometimes like I can turn right and then all of a sudden I get a call from a friend. Hey, I need you to pick up my kid. I'm running late. The daycare is going to charge me. Like, this is actually happening. Can you please pick up my kid? And because I turned right, it's on my way home. But then other times something like that can happen and I don't know. I mean, maybe I did miss something. Nothing happened, but I don't know.
Maybe that was the point. Yeah, maybe
right,
that was
the whole point. Because you turned right or like don't go there. Don't go there. So I don't always know. Sometimes I know and it makes sense. But this is why over the course of the years I made that promise to myself. Even if it's stupid, even if it makes sense, even if I don't understand, you will listen. Because you're being guided by something bigger and stronger and you will listen. And that's just my commitment to me.
I recently, in this past year, was sitting at a stoplight, and the light turned green, and in my head, I'm thinking, why am I not going? Like I had just that, why am I not going? And then all of a sudden, this vehicle ran a very red light, and I was like, oh, okay, well that's why. But so, have you had a lot of messages when you're talking to people about other people? I mean, is it?
Yeah. So I can. Like one time I was at a restaurant, this was here recently, and a man walked in. And as soon as he walked in, a man came in behind him, I guess a past man, somebody above him, some kind of figure above him, whether it be a grandfather, an uncle, some male figure above him. And he kept telling me, the truck, ask him about the truck, tell him about the truck, ask him about the truck. Now, I never did because I'm not confident enough to go up to a complete stranger in a restaurant and say, hey, do you have someone that passed that, had something to do with, I won't do it, but I'm currently a real estate agent and I've had a few homes that I've gone in where people who've passed in the homes have reached out to me. And if I'm comfortable enough with the client, I'll tell them. And those are the times where I get verification. Like I had one client that we just recently sold her father's house, and her father kept coming to me, showing me different things he liked in the house and different things he did. I was able to ask the client and get verification then. And so for me being new, exposure to this new, to get that verification, that validation, it's really helpful for me because I don't always know and I don't have full, I know it's happening, but at the same time, I don't have that full confidence, where I just take over a room and start doing it. I won't do that.
Not yet, Stephanie. Not yet.
Yeah,
You're headed that way.
I'm just I'm still too insecure. But yeah.
So you see ghosts, or what do you see when you said the guy walked into the diner and you saw somebody behind him?
I don't really see as much as I feel and get words, because I feel like a male presence or I feel like a female presence, I might see somewhat of a figure, but it's not so much about what I see. It's more like what I feel. And then I'm given words like yellow, or, tell him about the truck, or I sat here. This is where I sat. And I like to sit here because. So it's not so much that I see the person as much as I feel like, and I can kind of feel too, like if it's above or kind of parallel, or I can kind of feel like it was a mom or an aunt, or it was a sister or a friend. I can kind of feel that.
So if it's a mom, is it above them or next to them, or
It's
where?
kind of, yeah, it's kind of above. It's kind of above. And if it's someone generations back, it's behind them. So like it could be 2 or 3 behind them. So it's kind of weird.
No, it's not. It's wonderful, Stephanie. And I'm jealous. But
No, you're not, because what I had to do to get here, I'm lucky to be alive. I'm lucky to be alive.
and I've heard people say, they felt a male or female presence. What feels like a male or female I mean, the ghost does, or the entity does.
I can't
like,
really describe that. That's
Okay.
hard for me. I just know. I just know,
Gotcha.
like when they're communicating with me, it's kind of like if you hear a voice and you see no face, you can kind of tell if it's female or male for the most part. I mean, there's some exceptions, but you just kind of know, right? Like if you were to not see me at all and I were to be talking, you would say, yeah, that's a woman. That's a female. It's kind of like that. Like I just know.
Have you ever had multiple entities try to speak to you or give you information when you're with their loved ones?
Not really. I don't think I've had. I mean, there are times where I can hear a lot of, like, it's like being at the mall. I can hear a lot of voices in the background, but I can't make out anything.
All the time?
No, not all the time. It'll come and
Okay.
go. It'll come and go.
So
That's not as common though, but it has happened. Like I just feel like I'm at the mall. And if I have that happen and I'm in a crowded place, which I avoid, by the way, because one of the things that's happened through this is I cannot, I'll leave. But if I am in a crowded place for whatever reason, and I have that going on, and then I start picking up all the things around me, we leave. I gotta go. I can't do it.
So, I mean, like if you're at a concert, you can't deal with the people around you because of whatever, or you can't deal with the people and the people attached to them.
I couldn't tell you about a concert because I have not happened.
But it is,
Like a
yeah.
restaurant's about as crowded as I get.
But
Like,
I mean, is it
can't go.
because you're around actual people and you can kind of pick up their vibes of what's going on with them, or is it things attached to these people?
I think it's both.
Both.
I don't know for sure,
Okay.
but I want to say that, yeah, I think that it's probably both. I want to say that I think that it's probably both because I pick up people energy, just people. But then I think if they've got something there, I'm probably picking that up too. It's all kind of like fairly new to me. So I'm going to go with both on that for lack of not necessarily knowing a whole lot.
Can you pick up anything on me, or does it need to be in person?
I could maybe try to pick up something on you if I tried, but I'm so very nervous right now that I don't know that I could. Like if we were in private and I wasn't being recorded and it was just you and I, if I could zone out and do my thing, I probably could try, yes.
Well, and that's fine. I'm just letting you know I'm open. So if anything ever, you
Yeah,
don't know
like
if I'm open or not. I'm wide open, Stephanie.
If you wanted to do a session or you wanted to try something like not, just you and I, but I don't know that I could right now because I'm so very nervous right now. I don't know that I could zone in the way that I needed to release and zone in.
That is fantastic. I've gone to a lot of psychics, and it doesn't sound like you're quite there, but maybe you are there. You're just fighting it. But I love psychics,
Maybe.
and what's that?
I said maybe, yeah. I mean, it's
Yeah.
all so new to me, so it's hard for me. Hindsight's
Yeah.
2020, and I don't have that much hindsight yet.
Well, life got a lot more interesting for you, Stephanie. But when you've told people, like when you're showing a house and you let them know, like, hey, a loved one has said this or that, has everybody been open to it? And has that kind of helped you kind of close the deal on the house? Like, is it like, hey, I can trust this lady?
I've only mentioned it to people that I felt would be open to it. I didn't mention it to anyone that I didn't feel would be open to it. And everyone that I did mention it to, yeah, they did stick with me. I don't know if that had anything to do with it or not. That's a hard call for me to make. But when I've told them, we were already comfortable. We were already vibing. So that's a hard call to make. It's like, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Because if I'm not vibing, I'm still like, I still don't have that full-blown confidence where I just walk in the room and I'm just like, I see that and that and that. I don't have that. I don't have that. That's not there.
Thanks for watching the show today, folks. And if you enjoyed it, please like, comment, and share. And like always, stay rad.